Welcome back, dear viewers. As you have been following, of course, that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has received Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman bin Jassim Al Thani, the Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs of the State of Qatar, and his accompanying delegation. This visit is very important. We're going to know more about the highlights of this visit and the topics that were discussed in this meeting. But before anything, I would like to welcome over the phone His Excellency Mr. Ambassador Medhat Meligi, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Good morning, Your Excellency.
Good morning to you.
First of all, I'm really delighted to have you on Night TV International in the breakfast show. And before anything, please, would you please shed more light on this visit and the topics that were discussed in this meeting? Because President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, as I said, has received the Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman bin Jassim Al Thani.
Exactly. Well, this is a very important visit in the light of the final agreement that we reached on the Lebanese front when it comes to the Israeli-Arab conflict. It seems that, again, the Qataris are planning to get involved in the talks about reaching a ceasefire between Gaza or the Palestinians and Israel. We all know the Qataris have withdrawn from these talks a few days ago, actually a couple of weeks ago, when they said that both parties are not serious enough to reach an agreement. But it seems that now they have once again engaged themselves into the peace. I believe that after the reaching an agreement with the Lebanese front, the pressure is going to be higher on the Palestinians. And it's very important before we lose more life that we can reach a ceasefire, preferably even end of the war on Gaza and the swap of prisoners, and to reach a certain agreement on the future of the Palestinian state, as we all hope. Of course, this depends mostly on the engagement of the Israeli party. Since the 7th of October 2023, we've seen them engage in a wage of war that haven't stopped since. And we hope that now it's the time to, as they reach an agreement with the Lebanese, they could reach a Lebanese on the Palestinian front as well.
Mr. Ambassador, taking from your words that, of course, Egypt has a leading role in keeping the negotiations going as an approach of peace, as also Egypt believes that the diplomatic approach is always the safest solution and the best solution for all of the region. But still Israel is ignoring all types of negotiation, and the approach that is taken in Lebanon is different than Gaza. How do you comment on this?
Well, you are totally right. When it comes to the Lebanese situation, the conditions of the agreement on the Lebanese front were more positive and flexible than on the Gaza Strip. Of course, this was due mostly and foremost that Hezbollah entrusted the task of negotiations to the Lebanese government. And of course, we should not forget that Lebanon is a large and sovereign country with excellent relations with many countries around the world. As for Gaza, the situation is a little bit different because, well, as we've seen, the negotiations have failed several times. Maybe this was due to the fact that Hamas movement is leading the negotiations by themselves, and they refused so far to delegate this task to the Palestine Liberation Organization, or even the Palestinian Authority led by Mahmoud Abbas. And maybe this will lead us to something very important. We should not just keep on blaming the Israelis for not reaching an agreement. We have to have a unified voice in front of Israel, and the Palestinians have to unify their efforts in order to become one voice. We should not have two voices, two different voices, one coming from Gaza and the other one coming from the West Bank. It's now needed more than ever the Palestinians engage in the serious negotiations in order to unify their will, especially that what we've seen that Israel have used this dramatically in actually reaching the level of war crimes and genocide in Gaza, believing that those are two different fronts, which is not the case and should not be the case. So I believe that if the Palestinians will unify their voices in the negotiations, and Hamas try to engage the Palestinian Authority as well in the negotiations, maybe we can reach this time a good agreement, because actually the end of this war will definitely engage more IDF soldiers and officers onto the Palestinian front, especially in Gaza, West Bank.
Mr. Ambassador, in light of the Qatari visit and the accompanying delegation to Egypt and the attempt to reach an agreement with the Israeli side to reach a ceasefire, an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, how do you think the de-escalation in the Middle East would lead to more stability, and how do you think the cooperation between Egypt and Qatar would lead to this goal?
Well, I think the most important thing is that the Israeli side engage in good faith into serious negotiations in order to end this. Having said that, we have to understand that there are several factors that contribute negatively into reaching an agreement. First and foremost is that the Americans are not able to engage seriously into a real pressure on Israel to accept a ceasefire. And this is due, of course, to the change of power in the United States. We all know that President Biden is about to leave the office in about a month or so, and Mr. Trump will get inside. And this is usually the weakest period of the American time frame, when we have a switch of presidents, especially from two different parties and two different tactics when it comes to the Middle East. Of course, the goal and the setup is always the same, which is to defend Israel to the maximum. But of course, there are different tactics when it comes to achieving this goal between the Democrats and the Republicans. And this is the first thing. The second thing is that the internal problems in Israel and the lack of confidence in Prime Minister Netanyahu. We all know that there have been a lot of demonstrations against Mr. Netanyahu because of his responsibility about the attack that took place on the 7th of October on one side, and the corruption accusations against him and his government. And he is definitely certain that if he step out of the office, he will be maybe indicted in the corruption crimes, which is something that the war on Gaza and the Middle East have kept him from being accountable for it because of this situation. So at the end of the day, there are several factors. Egypt has been trying all the time. We have also the Qataris on board now after their withdrawal the first time. We hope that this is going to be more consistent and that the Qataris will seriously engage and not withdraw again. And we have the Palestinians who are on the edge of a famine, as they are accused officially of using food as a weapon in the war, which is a war of war. That's why Mr. Netanyahu is going to be present in front of the International Criminal Court for these allegations and other war crimes. So the situation is ready and ripe. The only thing is the lack of political will from the Israeli side. If this will is present, then the efforts of Egypt, helped by the Qataris, are going to lead to a final ceasefire to the current genocide that's taking place in Gaza, the West Bank.
Yes, Mr. Ambassador, and before we explore the ways that Egypt and Qatar are focusing on to strengthen the bilateral ties, you mentioned a very important point that I should not miss. How do you comment on the Israeli reaction regarding the ICC's issuing of arrest warrants against Benjamin Netanyahu and the Defense Minister Yoav Gallant?
Well, actually, the Israeli reaction is expected to totally dismiss the allegations against the Prime Minister of the state and the ex-Minister of Defense. However, what is really annoying and really magnify the double standard is the position of the West. I mean, we've seen most of the countries of the NATO and the West, especially the United States, are trying to avoid how to apply this by trying to use different tactics in order to say that it does not apply, or that Israel is not a state that could be indicted. But the reality that this shows, I mean, after the last welcome from the same court about President Putin and the warrant issued against him, and how they all welcomed it and they thanked the International Criminal Court for its effort. Now when we see the same court issuing a warrant against Mr. Netanyahu as well as Mr. Yoav Gallant and Mohammed Deif from Hamas, and we've seen a totally different situation as if it is a double thing. I think that the West have lost all credibility when it comes to its integrity regarding the international law and the international institutions.
Of course.
And this actually is going to lead to further escalation in the respect of in the international bodies.
They have lost the public opinion as well, of course.
Of course, and as we have all seen, I think that in the medium and long term, we are going to see a different position from the Western countries due to their own citizens and to their own public opinion that have changed dramatically from the 7th of October until today. For the first time, we see the West having another vision. Unfortunately, the administrations are still the same, and that's why we haven't seen much of a difference in the government's position regarding the Israeli-Arab conflict. But in the public, it has changed totally, and I think the long run and the medium run, we are going to see a different of positions regarding the Hebrew state. And I believe that it's going to be in favor of the Palestinian.
Yes.
And we have to understand that Israel will not just sit and look at it. They will spend millions of dollars in order to change this opinion and bring it back to where it was before the 7th of October, which is the total defense of Israel and believing in its right to defend itself no matter what the odds are and what the circumstances are.
Yes. And back, Mr. Ambassador, to the visit of the Qatari delegation to Egypt, how do you think strengthening the bilateral ties between the two countries could lead to more flourishment in the Egyptian and the Qatari economy, and how can this lead to more stability in the region from the economic aspect?
Well, first of all, we have to understand that Egypt has spent the last few years paving the way for such a day. And we have worked very hard on reforming the economy in Egypt. We have a new roads and a new transportations, and we have new infrastructure in Egypt. It is paving the way for collaboration with many countries. We are talking mainly about our friends in the Gulf area. We've seen the deal previously signed with the UAE concerning Ras Al Hikmah. Actually, as we speak, I am just seeing for the first time new advertisements making to promote Ras Al Hikmah after the Qataris are starting to pour investment in this area. We heard about another project with the Saudi Arabia, especially in the area of Ras Panas. And I believe that the Qataris are also interested, after the reforms that Egypt have undertaken, to also come and invest in Egypt. Let's be clear on one point. This is not a kind of unconditional aid to Egypt. This is not the case. This is pure investment and capital that is going to be poured into Egypt's economy in order to win. The famous formula in Egypt is the win-win formula. So if the Qataris and other countries are not going to find in Egypt a good economic partner, they would not think about investing in Egypt. And the reason why they're coming now, because we have suffered a lot to prepare the way for such a way, whether, as I said, with the Sahel area or with the European and American friends who also are interested in investing in Egypt. In short words, Egypt has prepared itself for this day, and now is the time to attract serious investment into the Egyptian economy in order to, which is the aim at the end, to elevate the level of standards of living for the Egyptian public. And this is what we are looking for.
Yes, of course, Your Excellency. And finally, this would be my last question, and I really want to hear more from you, Mr. Ambassador. How would Qatar be a valuable partner for Egypt's growing real estate sector in particular? Because as you know that the Qatari construction and development companies have demonstrated exceptional expertise, mainly through their projects when Qatar hosted the FIFA World Cup 2022. How do you comment on this?
Well, actually, I mean, Qataris have a good history in that field, and yes. I think this is, I mean, it shows that it illustrates what I have just spoken about, that the projects that we are offering to our Gulf friends, especially now with the Qataris, I believe that we are going to listen and hear soon about an agreement with Qatar. Yes. As you know, we had our ups and downs in the relations with our Qatari friends, but now the situation is secured enough and is friendly enough to invest in Egypt without any fear of the necessity of retraction these investments on the long run. So we know at least that we have a secure relation with our friends. We have overcome and we have overcome our problems that we had in the past. Yes. We hope that this will help positively into the Egyptian economy as well as the Qatari economy. As I said, it's a win-win situation. The Qataris are interested, and that's why they are paying this visit right now.
Of course.
And I believe that very soon we are going to hear about a project. Maybe now we are drafting project in order to declare to the general public something that is going to be very rentable and very profitable for both parties.
Yes, thank you so much, Your Excellency. Mr. Ambassador Medhat Meligi, former Assistant Foreign Minister, thank you so much for your valuable insights and for being with us in the Breakfast Show. Dear viewers, now we're going to have a short break and get back to the Breakfast Show to know more about the tourism sector, so stay tuned.